This video we're going to be talking about completing the square. And I'm actually going to use the exact same base problems from the factoring video. The big difference is if we're completing the square, we actually need to have it equal to something. So we are going to treat all of these as being equal to 0, which makes sense because that's what we have been programmed to work with. Okay, so when we are completing the square, we want to get our problem in the form x squared plus some number x plus another number equaling to whatever we happen to equal to. If we're solving, it's going to be a 0. If we are if we're writing something in vertex form, it's going to be a variable. Okay, well, most of the time we are going to have it to where we have something that is not a 1 that we're having to account for. So if our a is not 1, we have to first divide everything by whatever our a is. So x squared minus 9 halves x plus 5 is 0. Okay. Now we need to work on this part here. We need to work on that part. And the way that we are going to start off working with this part is we are going to take half of whatever number we have here. So in this case, half of 9 halves. And half of 9 halves is 9/4. So we're going to take this 9/4, x squared minus 9 halves, x plus 9/4 squared. And so we don't change the question at all. We're also going to subtract 9/4 squared plus 5, and that's going to give us 0. Okay. So this part we have forced to factor out exactly how we want it to factor. We have forced it to factor out into the form of x minus 9/4 squared. Now, the reason that this works this way is because of the fact that if we have a minus b squared, that always forms into a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. In this case, if we have a equals to x and b equals to 9/4, clearly we have our a squared and our b squared, and in the middle, if we do -2 times our a times our b, we end up with negative -9/4 x. So, oh, sorry, -9/2 x, because the -2 and the 4 gives me a 2. All right. So we have forced this into this situation. We still have to do some work on the other end, though, because 9/4 squared is 81/16. And then we also have a 5, which I'm going to go ahead and write 5 in terms of 16. So we need to know what 5 times 16 is. Which, if you're not quick with doing this type of math problem in your head, we can, of course, use a calculator. Regardless, you should end up with 80/16. And this is going to equal 0. Okay, now it's a case of trying to solve for x. So over here, -81/16 plus 80/16. That's going to give us -1/16. So -1/16 equals 0. To finish solving for x, we add 16 to both sides. We have x squared x minus 9/4 squared equals 1/16, which then gives us x minus 9/4 is equal to plus or minus 1/4 because we took the square root of both sides. So x equals 9/4 plus or minus 1/4, which we can write out as our two solutions, depending on how simplified they want the solution. But our solution set itself would be, let's see, 9 plus 1 is 10/4, which is 5/2. And 9 minus 1 would be 8/4, which is 2. So there's our solution set. If you want, you can check this against its duplicate problem on the factoring assignment. Just set the expression equal to 0. Okay, let's look at another one here. 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. Now remember, we cannot have a number here. So we are actually going to have to divide everything by 9. Of course, after we are equal to 0. So if we divide everything by 9, that's going to give us x squared plus, here, 12 divided by 9 is going to be 4/3. x. And then 4 divided by 9 is 4/9. Okay, so we are going to alter these first two expressions, and we're going to do that by taking half of our 4/3. And half of 4/3 is 2/3. So we now have x squared plus 4/3 x plus 2/3 squared minus 2/3 squared plus 4/9 is equal to 0. Okay, fantastic. Because of the way that we have set this problem up, we are going to be using the fact that we know a plus b squared is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Clearly, if a is x and b is 2/3, x squared is a squared, and 2/3 squared is b squared. 2 times x times 2/3 does indeed equal 4/3 x. So we can just come back and check this part out. Meaning, this thing, by design, factors into x plus 2/3 squared. Now, we do need to combine these into one thing, but when we divide them into one thing, let's look at what happens. If I square 2/3, I get 4/9. So we have minus 4/9 plus 4/9 is 0, meaning x plus 2/3 squared equals 0, which means x plus 2/3 equals 0, which means that our x equals negative 2/3. So our solution set is the number negative 2/3. Okay, that does it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.